All right, hello, hello. It is Melissa May Dillon here, your insurance exam queen, and I am super excited to introduce you to David Duford. He is an insurance agent who has a YouTube channel like mine, helping people in the insurance industry. So I'm super excited to actually introduce him to you guys because he has so much incredible, valuable information. So David, if you want to take a minute to introduce yourself, I would love to let my audience hear who you are.
Yeah, my name is David Duford. I've been a licensed agent since 2011. I started in the final expense business. I failed out after my first year, got back into it and was successful. Eventually opened my own agency, the Dig Agency. It's, by the way, my YouTube channel if you'd like to learn more. Just go on YouTube and put that in. And our specialty is helping agents sell final expense remotely using our free lead system. And I speak a lot about different topics for insurance agents, like what do you do after you get licensed, how to be as successful as you can be, and do lots of free training. So, Melissa, thanks for having me.
Yes, so I really do want to dig into guiding this conversation, especially for new people
Yeah,
who don't know necessarily all the opportunities that are available in insurance, and then also learning about some of the things that you just said. So let's uncover first final expense. So, from my understanding, because it's actually not highly tested, final expense, I don't think shows up on any exam. I mean, we obviously learn about life insurance. But
right.
final expense is a type of life insurance that is geared towards paying the final expenses of a person when they die. So like their funeral, the cremation costs, it's a generally lower policy amount. Like how much money do you
Sure. Yeah, so final expense, think of it this way. It's whole life insurance that's simplified issue, and its purpose is just to pay for the cremation and burial expenses alone. So like you were saying, the size of the policies tends to be 25,000 and under, with probably most between 10,000 and 15,000. Our clients aren't looking to get rich or, have a big lump sum left behind. They just don't want to leave a burden to their loved ones. We love the business because, frankly, there's a lot of old people. Baby boomers are retiring in mass, so it's easier to get leads. That's the biggest thing in this business that affects a lot of agents and why they fail. They just don't have anybody to talk to. It's simple in the final expense business. It's simplified issue, which means that you don't have to have the client give blood or pee in a cup and then wait weeks to get an underwriting decision. You get a decision if they're approved or not on the very first phone call. So that facilitates more sales. More sales means more income faster. So there's a lot of good things about it. It's not all rainbows and sunshine, but there's a lot of good things that make it a great product, especially if you're newer to start with and you want something to get up and running and to be successful with.
That's awesome. I will say one of the so I desired to actually sell final expense so I can share, part of my journey and something that I would like people to avoid doing. So I was, a school teacher and I knew I wanted to get out of it because it just one, it wasn't enough money, but besides that, it was a soulful, dreading job. Not the kids, but everything related to it. Like the administration, the time there, it just felt like I needed something completely different. My grandpa had died in March, and my grandma, she had two policies, and she's like, I've got two policies, we should be good. But one of them turned out to be an accidental death and dismemberment, which she was not
Mm,
aware of. She didn't realize it was attached specifically to an accidental death. And he died basically of old age, heart attack. He was 84. So I was like, oh my gosh, like people need final expense. They don't know enough about it. I was very motivated to want to sell it. And I ran across an opportunity that said remote sales life insurance. We will provide training. And I talked to them. Everything sounded wonderful. Everything sounded great. They said they would give me leads, that it would be awesome. All I would have to do is basically just have a conversation with them, sign them up. But I had to pay them. So they wanted me to pay them money, which I understand. Like, they did give me a licensing course to get my license. And then but I didn't feel like I really had adequate training. But I was like, okay, I'm just going to keep doing it. Like, I really want to be able to help, and I don't want to have to go back to teaching school. So they sent me this big PDF with a bunch of like filled out leads, and I would call them, and most of the people said, quit calling me. I'm tired of you calling me. And then I think I had one phone call where we had kind of gotten all the way through the app, but still, nobody ever trained me. And I was just kind of fumbling around trying to
right.
figure out what to do. And I
Yeah.
just eventually quit, and that was it. And then I never got into it again. So I would like people to not have that experience. So with what you offer, can you explain how you would be much better than that?
Yeah. So, in short, we target agents who are newly licensed, whether or not they have sales experience. Now, we try to select agents who we think are a good fit. Not everybody's going to be a good fit. I'm not going to be like every other agency and say everybody makes money. Not everybody does. And so we try to find people who are a good fit for the role to sell final expense successfully. And so if the agent is a match, then we do all of the training. We train the agent on the script, not just the script, but tonality. How you sound on the phone is probably more important than the actual words that you say. And it's really important to develop that tonality. Also, how to overcome the initial pushback, like, stop calling me. All you do is call me. I'm not interested. There's ways to overcome that, to progress the phone call, to hopefully get to the sale. And of course, training on how to close. So we do a lot of that training. In fact, that's what my business has always been focused on because the vast majority of agencies, like you've described, Melissa, in your own experience, this is how they operate. It's like, here's the script, good luck. They don't really
Yeah.
do much more beyond that. And it's a shame because there are good people out there that if they were given direction and a track to run on, they'd be successful. So we try as much as we can to provide that opportunity so an agent has the best chance they can to be successful.
Yeah, and that's important because and even just seeing your YouTube channel, you do desire to educate people. And I think that's one of the biggest
Yeah.
things that people struggle with is they're like, I have this opportunity, I have this way of making money, I want to help people. And then they try to put themselves out there, but they don't know what they're doing. They don't have any guidance, they don't have any help. And so and the same thing with people passing the exam, like they're like, I want to do this, but nobody's really helping me get through this. Like, here's a course, figure it out.
Right.
And that's the major what most people experience. So, can you tell us a little? So, I love the idea that it's remote work. So, do you have people who work certain hours? Do they pick their hours? Like, how does this work for you?
Yeah, so our setup is that agents are a 1099 independent contractor. You're not an employee when you work with the dig agency. So what that constitutes is that you have total control of when you work and for how long you work. Of course, we encourage you to work as much as humanly possible because more time on task, granted you're following the system and your skill set's good, you'll likely make more money, but you determine your hours entirely. So, for example, there are people who are moms that have children. They've got to go pick them up at certain times of day or drop them off, and they need that time. In our arrangement, that's completely allowable. There are even people who do this part time with us. They've got a full time job, and then they come in maybe between 5 and 8 or 5 and 9 o'clock at night and get on our dialing system and then start selling a couple of days a week. We have people who come in on Saturdays and even Sundays and sell. So there's a lot of flexibility. That was really important when I designed this business model, is that we want to work with people who maybe aren't necessarily ready to go full time, but really want to move in this direction and want some flexibility to make it work for them.
Yeah. So you said plug into our dialing system. Tell me about that.
Yeah, yeah. So in the remote sales world, what we do that's different than a lot of other agencies is we provide leads for free. A lot of people ask, how many leads do I get a week? Well, it's infinity. You get as many leads as you want to. And for the new people watching this, what's a lead? A lead is a person who's expressed interest in possibly buying a final expense plan. That's not a guarantee. A lead is not a sale. There's a lot of leads that won't buy, but you want to talk to leads because they eventually, after so many calls, lead to a sale. You're kind of looking for that needle in the haystack to an effect. But what happens is, in order to work these leads efficiently and effectively, you need to have a dialing system. And so we provide a system for free to the agents that work with us, where literally all they do is they log into a system, they indicate that they're ready to take the next incoming call. And then when the light on the screen turns green, they're presented the script, they're presented the person that's on the line waiting to hear, and then the agent goes right into the script to begin the sales process. So they don't really even have to dial by hand. They don't have to listen to a dial tone. They just wait for typically a minute, couple of minutes max before the next person is live and ready to sell.
Oh my God, I could do that. Let's do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, it's
I try
great.
to
And
do
it's
that.
remote. And to be clear, too, you can do this anywhere. We have people who have traveled internationally that will log in. I have a longtime friend, Evan. He was in Switzerland, just hanging around, and he was calling in. I don't know why he was working while he was in Switzerland. I wouldn't be working if I was in Switzerland. But he was dialing into the system. It was like, late at night when he was, but he could call and sell. And this is most people, of course, work at home, so it's convenient for them. And yeah, it's great. You don't have to worry about the big thing. Again, if you're new, I can't stress this enough, Melissa. If you're new, the biggest issue most agents have is I've got this license. What am I going to sell and who am I going to sell it to? With whom I'm going to sell it to being the biggest challenge. And with us, you don't have that problem. We spend an enormous amount of money to generate leads, to get good quality prospects in. So all the agent has to do is just sit and sell. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you're spending that much on leads, I know that, and you're giving it to the people with the system where it just dings on their ear. Oh my gosh, that's incredible. That means though that it tells me that you are definitely going to make sure your people are trained and ready to handle those leads
Yeah, yeah,
because you
yeah.
would not want to be funneling them to people who cannot handle them.
Right,
So that to me indicates that you really are setting your people up for success, which I think is awesome.
right.
That's super cool. So can you tell us about like your average person, like what they're making, how much they're working, like what could people, expect? And to also to that
Right.
question, maybe this would be the first question. You had kind of already mentioned it before. So let's say this is something I want to do, but I'm scared to do it because it's a 1099. I think I reach a lot of people who are scared. And I'm like, look, I get it too, but I'm 1099 only. I only make money if you guys sell my product. And you
Right.
guys see, as long as I solve a problem for you, you're eager to buy. So,
Right.
you're solving a problem for people and imagine right now your grandpa dies, somebody dies. Who in the family is going to take care of it? Do you guys have money set aside to take care of it? Like it'd be so simple if there's just a policy ready to go to pay out. Because it was actually really simple with she had, like I said, my grandma had two uh life insurance. One was a dud because it was accidental death and disability
Right.
only. And that's important that we educate people, right?
Sure.
So if somebody says I already have one, then you better be asking, do you know what kind it
Right.
is?
Right.
Because my grandma had no idea. And if someone had educated her, it could be a different story. But with the one that was valid, we just gave the information to the funeral home and they took care of everything. Like
Care of it.
my
Yeah.
grandma didn't have to pay anything out of pocket. It was all handled with the insurance company and it was super simple. So to be able to offer that solution to people, that's amazing. So can I do this job while working another job so I can build up my skills? I'm worried about going to a 1099, but if I can prove it to myself and work it and I'm able to build myself up to be able to leaving and doing it full time, do you have people like that in your agency?
Yeah. Yeah. This is a great point, and I want to expand on this because the biggest fear is being 1099 mean, in other words, you're straight commission. You
Hmm.
wake up unemployed every morning and you don't know where you're going to make your money versus having a guaranteed dependable wage. And everybody's in different situations in their life. So I'm not going to say, well, you're dumb if you go the wage way. It might be the right way for you. But a couple of things to consider here in this process. First of all, it's very rare in the life insurance space that you'll find a wage plus bonus or wage
Yeah,
plus commission job. It's very, very unlikely.
very
Okay. So
unlikely.
you may have to sell something like Medicare or
Yeah.
ACA in order to find that. And that might be your route if you just can't, if it just doesn't make sense to you, and that's fine. If you do find it, I will say this. Nevertheless, you getting a wage is dependent on you making what? Sales.
Yeah.
You aren't going to indefinitely make money in a guaranteed fashion without producing sales for the
Sales. Yeah.
company. So
You're gonna have to sell no matter what.
at the end of the day, it's performance based, right?
Mhm.
You may have to buy a little more time with a wage, but it's going to be that way either way. So my take on it is if your initial reaction is fear of what if this doesn't work, right? Don't go all in on a full-time basis. In some ways, that actually is a good idea, just kind of burning the bridges, going all in, but not everybody's right
That's what
for
I
that.
did as the insurance exam queen. It was like this is it. It's me or nothing, and I'm gonna go. And it worked for
And it
me
works.
very well.
So I actually started part-time. So I had a personal training gym in 2011, and it was going down the tubes with the Great Recession. And I saw the writing on the wall, like I was going to be done in the next year or two. And so, but I didn't want to give up what income I was making from it when I got interested in final expense. So I started final expense. I worked maybe 20, 25 hours a week for the first 6 months, the proof of concepts, so I could see it actually work, and it did. And then I went full time. Of course, I failed out. I can talk about that if you'd like to. But the point is, when I started part time. It was totally fine. And we support that, I guess, long story short. coming in. Now, I wouldn't say do this like 5 or 10 hours a week. That's too little. Like you do need
Okay.
some level of significant time to make this work. I would say bare minimum would be 15, but closer to 20 hours a week. And that could
Okay.
be spread over 2, 3, 4 days. And the cool thing about Final Expense is you can sell it late at night. You can sell it on the weekends. If you live in California, you can get up and start selling at 5:30 in the morning over in the East
East
Coast.
Coast, yeah.
Or if you live in Tennessee like I do and you want to sell into California late at night because it's 8 o'clock there and it's 11 here, there's a lot of opportunity to make this thing work according to your schedule. Yes, on a part-time basis. So to me, that would be like the compromise. If I'm like, I'm not sure if I want to go
Okay.
all in,
Okay,
find
perfect.
20
Okay,
hours a week to
so at
make it
least
work.
about usually about 20 hours a week working the calls.
Yeah.
And when do your people generally start to see sales come in?
So I've always said for years, if you're not making a sale in your first week for final expense, I'm just talking about final expense. If you don't make a sale and you've given it the college try, and I mean, you've worked full-time hours, if you've not made a single sale after being trained, after studying, etc., this business isn't for you. Now,
Okay.
maybe my agency isn't right for you, but what I don't want to construe here is that, well, you've got to do this thing for like 3 or 4 weeks in a good setup before you see any results. No, you should start making sales the first week that you're on the phones. If you're well trained, if you had access to all the materials necessary to be successful. So you want it quick. You don't expect it to be some slow roll. Final
Okay.
expense is a one call closed business. You're supposed to make the sale on the very first attempt. And so that means it's a fast cycle. You should be making sales within pretty quick amount of time of getting started.
Yeah, no, I feel like if you turned on your system for me, I could probably sell damn near every phone call.
Yeah, that's the
Once,
idea. Of course,
yeah,
I
when,
mean, we want that mindset, but not
yeah,
everybody. You won't make every sale that you talk
no,
to, but there's opportunity all over the place. That's what's great. And if you put in the time and you train and you get on the ball with learning the script and the carriers, which it's a lot, but it's not overwhelming to the point
yeah.
of nobody can do it. The opportunity is very real to be successful right out the gate and start making sales and start making money pretty quickly.
Okay. And what would you say is and these, obviously these people are going to, they interview with you first to find out, like when you're interviewing a person and like, I know you're going to hit, like, I know this person can be successful in doing this. What qualities are you looking for? Like, what does that person
Yeah.
have that lets you
Yeah.
know they're going to do great and you want to plug them into the system ASAP?
Excellent question. I don't care if a person has zero sales experience or enormous amounts of sales experience. Like we can take somebody who's never sold anything before. So when I say if you're new to insurance or to sales or both, don't count this out. The
Hmm.
big thing that we care about is the character of the person. So are you disciplined? Do you have the right tonality to some extent? It doesn't have to be perfect, but there are some people who are just monotone. They talk like this on the phone and like that's how they are. They don't know how to like have a little performance that because you have to perform to some extent. So how you sound is really important. But showing up, having a positive attitude, we don't need any Debbie Downers. I don't care how good of an agent it is. If the person's just toxic, forget about them.
Yeah.
So it sounds very generic, but like we really just want good people that want to go to work and are great to be around. We will do the rest. We'll train you on doing the rest of it.
Okay. I love that. Yeah. And to me, like people are so afraid of sales, but I'm like, you're just talking. You're just talking and you're solving a problem. And when you have, like, again, clearly you're investing as the agency, you're investing money in leads, you're investing in all this training. You're going to give the people what they need to be able to be successful. Otherwise, it won't work for you.
Right.
So, when you can trust in the people that you're working for, that they want you to succeed as much as you want to succeed, follow the system, follow the script, do what they say. And, damn near anyone can be successful doing it. Like you said, if they're disciplined and ready to go. Um, so can you talk to us a little bit about your commission structure and what they could expect? Because you're giving them the training, you're giving them the leads. So like, what does that look like on their end in terms of what they're making?
So this is filmed right about the start of 2025. So if you watch us into the future, just keep in mind the commission structure may have changed. Sometimes
Okay,
we
sure. Yes,
tinker
absolutely.
with it. So, this isn't set in stone. Uh, our commission structure is kind of unique. we pay higher commission based off of performance, right? So if an agent writes more business on the whole stack of business, they get paid more for each basically 2 week approximately sales cycle. So on the very low end, again, leads are provided. There's very little expense besides you have to pay for your licensing and you do have to get errors and omissions. That's it. And then also the quoter software. That's like 35 bucks. But that's it. On the low end, commission, and this is really, if you're getting paid this much, you're probably not meant for the business, to be honest with you. The low end is 20%. But as agents get into what I think are a realistic range for a good agent who has not the best skills, but not the worst, commission is going to be 40 to 50%. But on the very high end, for the top performers that have great skill and put in a ton of time, you can make up to 70% commission on every single sale that you make.
Okay.
And it's a legit six-figure income opportunity. Of course, I can't guarantee anybody's going to make any money because it
Hmm.
comes down to what the agent does.
Yeah.
Um,
Like people are like, do you guarantee that I'll pass? I'm like, no, because I can't guarantee what actions you will take.
right, right,
If you watch
absolutely.
my stuff, if you do what I say, then you're more likely to pass, but I will not guarantee because I cannot guarantee how you act.
The idea behind our compensation program is that we want to reward our best and most productive people with more and more commission.
That's
Because in any sales organization, it's the top 20, top 30% that drive 80% of the revenue. And so we want to really pay them the most for their performance because they're going to be driving the company as a whole.
so I do want to break this down a little bit for people who are again total newbies about this. So let's talk for a minute. So if I'm selling a final expense policy and I make commission on the premium of that, right?
Yeah.
So what is a typical premium on a final expense, an average on a final expense?
Yeah. So again, influenced by your skill set and training, but our goal is at least have a 900 AP, but annual premium AP means annual premium. But let's say 1,000 because this last week we did 1,080 in annual premium on an average basis. So let's say if our average premium was 1,000 and you did enough production that you get 40% commission. So that means on your average policy, 40% times 1,000, your first year commission is going to be $400. Does that make sense?
So every time I sell a policy, I'm making roughly $400. Is that what you're
Correct.
saying?
Now you don't get that up front. You get what's called an advance of commission. Typically, it's about 75% of that total. So in this case, you would get $300 with the back $100 paying out at the end of the year in months 10, 11, 12 in equal increments.
So it's I make money today, but then I'm also kind of putting money in a bank account that I'll get a little bit later.
You can think about it that way. Correct.
That's cool. Okay, great. Okay, now to the other side of this, I may meet an insurance agent who says I'm going to get 100% commission, but that's probably going to require that I find my own leads, that I set up my own phone calls, that I call the people themselves, that I go to the appointments. What you're offering is, a 20%, 40 low, a little bit low over commission, but you're providing them everything. All they have to do is get to their computer and say, I'm available.
Yeah, and I
Is
would
that
say again, if you're a good agent, it's going to be 40, 50% or more on average with up to 70%. But I want to speak about this real quick because for 10 years, we recruited the agent that at 100% contract that would buy leads. And a lot of you may be looking at opportunities where this is the case. Here's what
I
I've
I would say people on my channel, I think, are more looking for what you're offering. I just want to be
agreed.
able to kind of outline the difference so that they can
Yeah.
understand. When someone
Yes.
says you should be making way more commission than that, keep in mind that means a person who's running their own business, like they're
Yeah.
getting their leads, they're resourcing, they're finding the people to call. You're providing all of that for them with the system where all they have to do is plug in. So you're giving up some of your commissions, but you're using that to get this whole system that you have set up. I think that that's very worth it in my mind. So I just
Yeah.
wanted to kind
I,
of
and
clarify
I
those two things.
it's funny because we have actually done that first model, the 100% model recruiting wise since 2013. We switched to free leads about a year ago. And what we've found out is that the free lead agents are way more successful and way more consistent than the agent buying leads. And here's why, even at a 100 higher contract. The reason why is because it is an emotional burden to spend your money and to
Mhm.
risk it. I can't stress this enough. If you've never run a business and
For
have had
sure.
to invest in marketing and staff. Like you think it makes sense on paper. I'll pay $1,000 a week for leads. But what happens when you spend $1,000 up front and then you work 40 hours and you don't make sales? And then your spouse is like, well, how did you do? I didn't make any money. Actually, I lost $1,000. Are you sure that doesn't sound right? Then you get this whole head trauma going on,
Yeah.
buying leads, you get stressed out. It's an emotional turmoil. Then you
Hmm.
start thinking, well, I need to do this different. Maybe I need different leads. Maybe it's the leads. And so what agents start doing is they start making mistakes because the emotion of the business gets in the way of the execution. And most brokers end up failing out because they don't have anybody describing this to them, this reality of like it's tough handling and spending your own money without letting your brain and your emotions get in the way. The nice thing with us is that you don't ever have to worry about that. Like there's no stress when it comes to spending money. The only thing you have to do is sit down in front of your computer and put the hours in selling prospects. And you always start at zero every week. You don't start at a negative number.
Yeah.
And I think more people should go that route, getting free leads than spending money and taking the
Yeah.
risk. And
At
I think
least
they're more
starting that
successful
way.
because of it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, just get started this way so that you can get some experience under your belt before, because it does like I admit as the insurance exam queen, I have to hire people to do things. Now I have to pay them payroll. I have to make sure there's enough money coming in to be able to do that. Running your own business is not for the weak of heart.
Yeah.
So if it would be easier for you, which I really love the opportunity that you're presenting to people, is we've taken care of pretty much everything. You just need to show up and start talking and
Yeah.
you have the system to plug them into, like that's amazing. So they don't have to carry any burden about running their own business. They don't have to carry any burden about finding their own leads, paying for their leads. They just get to show up on the phone and do their magic and then be done.
Yeah, what our system is best built for are people who don't care about entrepreneurship. They're not necessarily interested in building some enormous agency. They just want a good opportunity that's a legit six-figure income opportunity, and they're okay not having to fool with marketing, fool with retention. We actually help agents keep business on the books, so you don't even have to do retention work, and all you are worried about is just selling. And so we try to simplify the process while also giving a good income earning opportunity in the mix with it. And so, like the agent that is attracted to that simplification will thrive in our arrangement. The person who's really just a dyed-in-the-wool entrepreneur, they may be better being a broker, but that's like a minority of the people that are out there. Most people just do better just plugging into a system and just getting trained and getting at it.
Yeah, no, this sounds, and honestly, I'm always like, turn on that system for me. Let me get on there.
Sure, right, right.
I would love that actually sounds really cool to me. And I think that's such a great opportunity because there are people who are not driven necessarily by being the one who runs the business, but they have a skill set that if they can utilize. And what I love about it is like you can because one part about running your own business is you do get to make your own money up to what you desire to make. When you're like, I'm going to put in my time, my effort, my talent, my genius, and be able to make an unlimited amount of money, there is an awesome side to that. But then there's a side where I've got to run my business, I've got to
Yeah.
hire people, I've got to pay payroll, I've got to do all these things. And so to be able to offer an opportunity where it says I can essentially make unlimited commission if I get on that phone and make phone calls and I can get better and better so that every call I have, I'm getting a sale versus like I have to run a whole business and do all of that. I think that's really awesome what you're presenting and what you're offering. And I think it's a perfect opportunity. Who are like the main, like what are the people that work with you? What are they doing in their life? Like what kind of people are you attracting? Is it a lot of moms or
I would say it's funny, we've always been more male oriented. I'd say we're probably 75% male, 80% male. We definitely have ladies who come in who
yeah.
are single moms, who are married, and work, just like anybody else. I've never worked one way or the other. It's just kind of how it ends up. I think that's how
Yeah.
the business is. A lot of lady agency owners tend to attract more females, and so kind of works out that way. But it's definitely something that is wide open to anybody. I think I just did a video. It's about to come out. We had a newer agent who was a nurse who left nursing just with COVID and everything. You could imagine how that was. And I think her first full month in the business, she did like 44,000 in premium. Commission wise, probably translates to about 15 to 20,000 roughly in just her first full month, right?
Wow.
So
She did full-time hours on the phone?
she definitely did full-time hours. Yeah, for sure. For
Okay,
sure.
so
She might have
full-time.
done 25 or 30 hours a week now that I take that back. I think it's probably
Okay.
closer to 30 hours a week
So
than
let's say
20.
30 hours a week and she took home how much?
Roughly, again, I don't know the exact dollars, but somewhere between 15 and 20,000 based off of that production.
Okay, so 30 hours a week, 15,000 a month. That sounds pretty cool to me.
Pretty good. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
all she had to do was turn on her after doing her training, obviously, and learning the stuff. She just turns on her computer when she's available, answers phone calls, talks to people, closes a sale, and moves on. Like, this is not a business where you do follow-ups a lot, or like, are you?
No, we have a retention team that calls on any missed payments, talks them back onto the premiums so they can catch up the missed payments, or sometimes we have to rewrite them if they just are too far behind financially. So you don't have to worry about any of that at any time. Just
That's
sell.
awesome. So there's
That's
a
it.
whole support. So that's also like, again, the comparison of making 100% commission versus making closer to 20/40 is some of that money that you're missing on commission is going to pay for other things that you don't have to worry about. Going to
That you
pay.
would anyway. You would
Yeah.
have to pay for marketing, you'd have to pay for retention team, and the likelihood of you doing it at peak performance levels when you're being stretched in different directions is lower. And that's the
Yeah.
other thing that's hard as an independent agent is that you've got to do everything.
You got to wear a
And
lot of hats.
yeah,
Yeah.
being a business owner, right? This kind of comes with the territory.
Yeah, like there's a lot of like I don't get to just teach anymore. I don't just have I don't I have to do all kinds of stuff. I'm like I just want to
Yeah.
teach.
Yeah, right,
But I'm
right.
running
I
this whole
understand. Trust
business
me.
now. Yeah, so that is very powerful. And I love that because again, like not everyone wants to necessarily have their own business, but they want to be able to make a decent sum of money, that's not attached to a necessarily hourly wage. Because like that's what some people don't understand is what are you giving up for that hourly wage? Yes, you're giving up having to run the business, taking on the risk and all of this. Yes. But what if there was a system in the middle, a balance
Yeah.
between the two? And I think that that's what you're offering people. And I think that's
Yeah.
absolutely incredible. And I'm super excited to share this with people. So you're also going to be offering, so as you've been in the business for a long time, you have a lot of experience. You've seen a lot of the industry. You've seen a lot of how this works and how this goes for people. You're going to be offering some training for our people is
Yes.
three different trainings. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Boy, let me see. I don't quite remember the titles,
No,
but I
the
know they'll be
titles were
good.
amazing. I don't remember what they are either, but I know you're offering three trainings.
I know one of them. One of them is I've got my license. Now what? So we're going
Yes.
to talk about, and this is really important, guys. If you're in that process of just about to get your license, you're going through testing, or you've just gotten your license, congratulations. But like the next stuff is really important too. Like what products do you sell? What agency do you join? What landmines are there that you need to be worried about? Because this business, there's some sharks in it. And you got to
Yeah.
be aware of that. So in that training, we're definitely going to talk about what steps you can take to avoid making mistakes that cause agents to fail. And it happens all the time. I've seen it for a decade plus. So we'll talk about that. I think the other thing, we're going to kind of go more into depth in the final expense arena, talk about the remote sales opportunity, talk a little bit about that. And then I don't know what the third one is, but
I
it'll
think
be,
one of them was about making six figures or structuring like a
oh,
year or
yeah.
something like
Okay.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome trainings that we have lined up. And so all of our classes right now always are, I don't know like when we'll release this video if we'll get them all lined up. But under the live class schedule on theinsurancexamqueen.com, you go to the live class schedule. Any classes that we have there are going to be available. So David's will be available there. And then we'll also make sure we have a link under the video and you can just Google YouTube him. He's got his whole YouTube channel. So if you want to learn more about his vibe, learn about what he's doing, definitely go check that out. And he also has some pretty funny TikToks. I was on there for a minute watching some of your TikToks. You got some good stuff there. So you're also very
Thank you.
entertaining, which I think is important. So if you love me, you love my spirit, you're like, I like working with someone who's fun and entertaining. David's got that as well on his side of things. So I think that's important. Well, David, thank you so much. I'm really grateful that you're here, that you have this opportunity to present our audience. It's very important to me that a lot of people have asked me, what do I do next? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I can get you through the exam, but I don't know what's next. But it became such a big question that I was like, I've got to find amazing and incredible people to be able to share with my audience where to go, where to learn information.
Right.
And whether or not anybody wants to work with you, just your resources alone available for them to learn from on the YouTube channel, I think are incredibly powerful. And I'm grateful that you're sharing, your advice and your wisdom to these people who are entering the industry. And I just love that. So I'm super happy to be able to share you with my audience so they can learn and get some resources. And I'm looking forward to the classes that you have. Is there any final thoughts you wanted to share with everyone?
Just if you want more information on the channel, just put in the Dig Agency or David Duford into YouTube and go down the black hole of all the content that I have. And thank you for having me, Melissa. I appreciate it.
Yes, I thank you. Well, I am sending you guys all the loves, all the vibes to pass your exam. And if you're done passing your exam, you're ready to go on. David has such an amazing opportunity. I'm genuinely like, I think I want to do it myself. I think it would be fun to even record some phone calls of me selling. I don't know if that's possible, but sales are not nearly as scary as what you think you are. Once you just start talking to people and sharing them, I'm going to solve your problem. It's actually a lot easier than what we think. So I'm super excited for this opportunity for you guys. So all the loves, all the vibes to pass the exam. You guys have an amazing day.
Thank you.